Hello, 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 beautiful people. It's your girl Monique Nicole, and I am back with another video. Today, I will be reviewing The Real Housewives of Atlanta, honey, season 12, episode 13. Let's see. Sunday's episode was very interesting. It was entertaining, but not in a way that I like. Trying to think how I want to explain that. It wasn't like a turn up, like, oh, this is so much fun to watch. It was a lot of stuff, like just a lot of BS that occurred on Sunday night's episode. I'm really gonna hit on three main things. I'm gonna be hitting on the Mike and Cynthia situation with Mike's daughter. I'm gonna be talking about, of course, the lunch date with Kenya, Cynthia, Tonya, Eva, and the cookie lady. And then I'll be talking about Portia and Dennis. So, the scene when Cynthia and Mike were together. So Cynthia basically flew to LA to be with her fiance, Mike Hill. And basically Mike had some people over. First of all, we found out that Mike has quite a bit of female friends. This is a rare thing. I think I've only known maybe two guys in my entire life that had a lot of female friends, and it was platonic and nothing sexual or anything. But yeah, Mike is one of those guys that has a lot of female friends. He does have a few male friends as well, but he's got majority female friends. Cynthia was talking about that in the confessional, and she was basically saying that when he told her, she forgot to ask, like, hey, wait a second, have you like fooled around with any of these girls? That would have been my first question. As soon as my boyfriend, fiance, whoever says, you know, I have a lot of female friends, I would have been like, okay, yes, that's cool. So have you done anything with any of them? That would have been my first question. But you know, Cynthia is a little slow sometimes. But yeah, so it was nice to meet some of his friends. I would say all of them were attractive looking for the most part. I got the homie vibe from a good bit of them. There was a few that I felt like, you never know what could have happened back in the day. But nonetheless, they seem like decent ladies. Now, while he's having his friends over, they're having what I would say grown-up conversations. They are talking about Mike's past. They're talking about his dating past history, his previous marriages. So really like just grown up adult talk. And in the midst of these conversations, we realized that his 17-year-old daughter is in the room, like at the kitchen table with them. Now, I think Mike has 3 daughters, and the youngest one is 17. So yes, she was his youngest child. It was one of the most cringeworthy, most awkward scenes I've ever watched on a reality show. It was just so cringeworthy. They were having a lot of, like I said, adult conversation, like just kind of, I mean, not kind of, like it was inappropriate conversation, especially for his 17-year-old daughter to be in the room. They were basically talking about, again, Mike's past, and he has shared that in his previous marriages, he was not faithful and he cheated on his previous wives, both of them. So the question did come up kind of like, okay, well, what makes Cynthia different? And some of Mike's female friends were saying, you know, you're the first girl that he's ever posted on social media, and he's, you know, you're the first one that he's done this and that. So there, I guess, you know, there are some differences between Cynthia and his previous wives. But so they were having that type of dialogue. And Mike's response, again, while his 17-year-old daughter is sitting at the table, he basically shares with everyone that he feels like he loved his exes, but like he's not sure how deeply in love he was, or you know, I think he said like, I love them, you know, obviously I had a bond with them, but I don't think I couldn't have been he said, I couldn't have been that deeply in love with them because blah, 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 blah. And just to like say that, one, I feel like you're taking the blame off of you and putting it on them. I really hate the saying of like, oh, like, let's say, like, let's take Mike, for example. Oh, you cheated and you were a shithead, or you were a shitty boyfriend, a shitty husband for years and years and years. And then finally you met this one and you got it right. I don't like that theory. I don't feel like it's the woman's fault. I do not. For all we know, his exes could have been amazing women. I think that it is the man who is not in the position yet, mentally or emotionally, to be in said relationship. So I don't feel like it's always a case of, oh, you know, they weren't the right one. Sometimes people aren't fucking ready. And there's a huge chance that his ex-wives they could have been amazing women, or they could have been horrible. I don't know. But I don't like that sense of like, oh, I couldn't have been that deeply in love. And then to do that in front of your daughter, at the end of the day, you're talking about her mother. And from a child's perspective, no child wants to hear that their father did not really love their mother. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that. And I just think it was completely irresponsible as a parent. Like, at the end of the day, he's a parent. There was a room full of adults. It did surprise me that none of the adults were saying, you know, hey, so-and-so's here, you know, we sure wouldn't have this conversation. But he's the parent. Mike should have seen where the conversation was going. And he, as the parent, knowing how delicate the conversation was, he should have made the decision as the parent to send his child upstairs so that she wouldn't hear any of that conversation, since they were, you know, talking about some sensitive stuff. So basically, the conversation continued. It was getting a little bit heavy, and the girl, like, his daughter, like, just put her face down, and she was just visibly upset, to the point where it finally caught his attention, and he was like, oh, you know, so-and-so, I forget her name. I really hate that I forget her name, but whatever. He told his daughter to go upstairs. And then after a few minutes, he went up there to check on her. And then let's talk about that. I do not think that Cynthia should have went into the room. I think that Mike should have went by himself and had a private conversation with her. But basically he went into the room, and he said, is it okay if Cynthia comes in? Then he had Cynthia come in. And then he was like, you know, I'm so sorry. You know, you shouldn't have heard all that. You know, that was inappropriate. Da, 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 da. Are you okay? And she just broke down crying. Like, it was so sad. It was so uncomfortable. I was literally cringing the whole time. It was so sad, that poor girl. And that just shows you that, I don't know, man, Cynthia needs to look a little deeper and just make sure that everything is kind of, I don't know. I feel like Cynthia's in love and she's like in lust, and I don't know. I'm not saying they shouldn't be together. I'm not saying they're not great for each other, because I do like them together. But watching this episode definitely opened my eyes up to realize there's a lot of baggage going on within the family, and Cynthia is walking into something that is still like a fresh wound. And she's got to be sensitive with that. And they have to communicate and figure out the best way to handle that. Mike, as the parent as well, has to do some work with his children and with his ex-wives, because there's still a lot of pain there. Again, that was just like, that was sad. It was cringeworthy, all of the above. So moving on, let's see. So there was a little girls' lunch with Cynthia, Kenya, and Eva. They arrived. No, I'm sorry. It was Cynthia, Tonya, and Eva. They first arrived to this restaurant. And then Kenya came in shortly after. And, she was looking pretty. I would have to say Miss Kenya was looking very nice. And, everybody was like, oh, you look so pretty. Oh, hi, Kenya. La, la, la. And I think Cynthia complimented her. And she was like, yeah, I like to dress. I like to look nice when I'm about to read a bitch. And we're all like, okay, bitch. Who you about to read? Tanya was like, okay. Tanya was being mature and was like, hi, Tanya. Hi, Kenya. What's up? Hi, girl. Like, let's not make it awkward. And Kenya was giving my girl Tanya the cold shoulder. And Tanya was like, I know there's I know there's some tension there. Let's go ahead and discuss, what's up. So they talk about the wig gate, the whole wig situation with Kenya leaving one of her wig pieces in Canada and asking Tanya to bring it back home, blah, 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 blah. So Kenya is very angry with my girl Tanya. I felt like her anger was not necessary for the situation. I feel like it was not that deep. Kenya explains that she's got $1 million business, her Kenya Moore hair care products. And that basically when Tanya brought it back to the girls and you're basically saying that Kenya wears hair pieces and weaves, that it's messing up her brand and you're taking food out of my babies. And I hate that line. I'm like, do y'all people, y'all parents, do y'all just say, I don't know. Let me not get my friends that are parents upset. Y'all just saying certain stuff. Don't talk about my child, or you taking food out my child's mouth. I'm just like, girl, calm down. It's not that deep. Anyway, so they going back and forth about that. I will say, I am critical of Kenya. I have a love-hate relationship for Miss Kenya Moore, but I will say in her defense, just a little bit, it does seem like Tanya did it on purpose. She did it as a retaliation, basically, it seems like. So it's kind of like, okay, girl, just own up, Tanya, that you did it on purpose. I feel like I could respect it, or Kenya probably could respect it more if you just owned it. It was like, yeah, girl, that was payback for you being shady. So yeah, because technically, Tanya, it looks like you did it on purpose. You purposely brought it to the girls and you did it on camera, and then you gave it to Candy so that Candy could give it to Kenya. It was a whole thing. So I do wish Tanya just owned that part. But nonetheless, I still don't think it was as serious. Kenya just got so irate. She was being so just disrespectful and just rude, and called Tanya the see you next Tuesday, and called her a bitch and did all that. And it was just hard to watch because I felt like I was watching a pit bull and a Yorkie. Kenya was the pit bull and Tanya's the Yorkie. And I felt like it was just team too much. Kenya came way too hard. If y'all don't notice, Kenya knows who the hell to pick on. Now, I do think Kenya will always defend herself in a situation, no matter who she's up against. I think she's just, she's very vocal. I think she'll always defend herself. But I feel like Kenya purposely chooses people to attack like a bulldog. Watching that scene, it reminded me of years ago when Kim Fields was on the Housewives of Atlanta, and the friction that she and Kenya had, and how Kenya treated Kim Fields, and just, it was just attack. And it was just I just felt very mean girlish and bullying, and it was just very intense. And that Kenya, one of my issues with Kenya is that she can be a bully. She can be mean. She can come off aggressive and a lot of other things. But when it's done to her, she likes to play victim a lot. And I just feel like Kenya never owns up to her stuff. And it just really irks me. So I did not like how she treated Tanya. And then as soon as I thought it was already bad, it got even worse because Kenya brought in the cookie lady. The cookie lady is the same lady who basically said that Tanya's fiance, Paul, was hitting on her at this restaurant, whatever, here in Atlanta, Chabu. I think it was in Atlanta. Chops. I don't know. I've never been. But anyway, She came up on the scene with the gangsta lean, and I did not like it. It was very shady. The producers, of course, did this, and Kenya went along with it. That scene again was another cringeworthy scene. Cookie lady. Hey guys, I am back. Sorry, my camera cut off, and you know what? It was getting late. I was sleepy, had to be up for work the next day, so I'm here now finishing up my review of the Atlanta Housewives. But I'm gonna pick up where I left off, which is with the cookie lady. I felt like Miss Cookie Lady was way too aggressive with Tonya. Just super aggressive, came in with the gangsta lean, and I didn't really like it. She was thirsty for camera time. She was very desperate for her 15 minutes of fame. Again, cringeworthy scene. I hated the scene. I hated how Kenya was acting. And I also want to bring up that I really did not like how Cynthia and Eva were acting. It felt, sometimes silence is just as bad. And I just feel like Eva, and I understand, like, you know, they didn't want to like come at her crazy, but I just feel like the vibes I was getting from Eva, especially Cynthia, it just felt like, it just felt insensitive. It felt very mean girl-ish. And then in that exchange, Kenya and Cynthia almost got into it because Kenya brought up the fact that Miss Cynthia invited Cookie Lady to her, what event was Cynthia having? Which ended up being her engagement party, but whatever. That event that she had, I forget what the event was, but nonetheless, that event that Cynthia had, in which Mike ended up proposing to her, she invited Cookie Lady to that. We, as the viewers, did not know that, and Tonya did not know that. So when Kenya sprinkled that in, Cynthia got real defensive. She was like, hold up, girl. Don't try to make it seem on some shady shit. Cynthia, defending herself, was basically stating that the Cookie Lady works kind of like in the same complex, I guess, as Cynthia's event. So she was just like, it would have been super rude and awkward if she didn't invite her, especially since she frequents at her store. So I mean, I get it. If that's true, you know, I'll give you some benefit of the doubt, but I feel like she could have, well, then you see, now I'm thinking about it, because Tonya was not at that event. Tonya did not make it to that event. So I'm not gonna lie, I kind of understand, you know, hey, I frequent your cookie store, your business in the same complex as my business, I'm having an event, it would just be awkward or rude if I didn't invite you, so whatever, I'm gonna invite you. I'm sure Cynthia was like, well, Tanya's not gonna be here, so there won't be any awkward exchanges. The true question is, if Tonya was there, I wonder if Cynthia would have still invited Cookie Lady, but we'll never know. But again, so that was revealed, and Cynthia, of course, got defensive and defended herself. I didn't like how, so the bitch brought cookies. I did not like how everybody was eating the cookies. Let me tell you right now, if I was Tonya and if my friends were at that table and a bitch approached me about my man and on some cheating and or getting a phone number, blah, 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 y'all bitches better not touch not nan cookie. Them cookies would be on the motherfucking floor. I would have dumped those cookies on the floor. Don't try me. Do not try me. And Cookie Lady was trying Tonya, and Cynthia and Kenya and Eva eating the cookies was just really antagonizing the situation. I felt really freaking bad for Tonya. Tonya held herself so well. She held it together. She put on an awesome poker face. Like, she seemed so unfazed. Like, she was very strong. Me, I don't know if I could have been that strong, because I would have been feeling like, one, none of you bitches have my back and we're supposedly friends. Two, I would have like wanted to reach across the table and snatch the bitch, the Cookie Lady girl. And it just would have been a different situation if it was me. So I really have to give credit to Tonya. She handled herself amazingly. Best believe though, when she got home to Mr. Paul, I'm sure she was cussing him out, and you know what we do behind the scenes with our man. But on the cameras, she kept her composure, and for that, I have to really give a round of applause to Tonya. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about, which is my least favorite topic of all. Portia and Dennis. I hate talking about Portia and Dennis. I feel so many ways about the whole relationship, but I'll save that for another time. So in this episode, Portia and Dennis go to another therapy session with Dr. Sherry. And, you know, Dr. Sherry notices, like, oh, Portia has her engagement ring back on. So she was like, oh, are we back together? Like, what's going on? Portia's like, yeah, we're back together. Yeah, we're working it out. And, you know, in the therapy session, first of all, did y'all notice, like, Dennis's demeanor just completely seems like he's not interested at all? I just feel like he just comes off so, he seems uninterested. He seems bothered. He seems like he doesn't want to be there. He seems like he can't handle the criticism. And I just feel like there are a lot of people like him out there. And I just feel like when you do something wrong like that, especially to the caliber of what he did, you got to understand, as a human being, as a man, you have to understand that, listen, you might be in the doghouse for a little bit. And if that means Portia bringing it up, that means Portia bringing it up. It's going to be a topic of conversation for a few months, homie. So you better just chill out. You better buckle up, take the hits, and keep it rolling if this is what you really want. If you don't want this, you need to bow out. Like, I just hated his demeanor in the therapy session. He just seemed like he didn't want to fucking be there. And Portia opened up and was very candid and basically explained that, well, did she bring it up or did Dennis bring it up? I can't remember who brought it up. But nonetheless, it was brought up that, you know, basically Portia was like, day-to-day stuff, I'm able to like coexist and keep it copacetic and like keep it cool. But when it comes to us going to bed at night and being physical or intimate, there's a block. And she cannot open herself up like that to that man. And I completely understand. You know, she was in love with Dennis. Again, obviously they rushed into it. She ignored all the warning signs. But again, you know, she fell in love, whatever. She was in love with this man. Whether it makes sense to us or not, she was in love with him. They were on the fast track. They had a baby. They were in bliss. And, you know, she finds out that her man cheated on her. Like, so you literally, like, not just kissed, but you fully had sexual intercourse with another woman. While I'm sitting up here thinking we're in love, la la land, like just in premarital bliss, you were out here sticking it in somebody else. That is a very hard pill to swallow. And if I was Portia, I would have a lot of problems, like opening myself up back to him emotionally and physically. So, you know, I think Dr. Sherry was even like, you know, Dennis, you're going to have to, you know, you have to understand that it's going to be a topic and you're going to have to just work through it and push through it. And Dennis also said, he also had the nerve to say, well, I just feel like lately it's all been, you know, Dennis getting all the blame. Dennis this. He's like, but I'm not the only one that needs to do work. Portia has things that she needs to improve on too. Blah, blah, blah. Although I thought it was like a selfish time to bring it up, but I mean, I guess it's a therapy session, so why not bring it up and be truthful? If that's how he feels, that's how he feels. It's a little selfish to me. But at the same time, as a viewer, I think I did kind of pick up on that earlier in their relationship before the cheating scandal stuff. Like when they had like their special together, like their Bravo gave them that little 3-episode special, whatever. I did notice there was some selfishness at Portia, like, you know, so there could be some underlying truth in that. But nonetheless, I think their relationship is just doomed. I think it was rushed from the start and it possibly had a chance to be successful. But one, Portia made the second mistake again in rushing back and reconciling with him. I think she rushed that process. So not only did she rush it the first time, you rushed it the second time. And then I just think Dennis is not a committed type of guy. I think he's one of those men where he wants to be a committed guy. He convinces himself he wants to be in a relationship, but he really doesn't. He really doesn't. And I don't think he's going to settle down anytime soon. I think the relationship is doomed, and I don't see it for Dennis. I really do not like Dennis for Portia like that. He's probably one of those guys where he's like really cool as the homie. Like he's a cool ass dude to have as a guy friend, but like relationship, no. He got 50-11 tattoos of other bitches. He was just dating someone right before Portia. There was too much scandal going into it. Again, Portia was dumb and in love and just in bliss and didn't want to hear anything about her man, right? So she's got to live with that. But yeah, that is the end of my review for this episode of Atlanta Housewives. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Help support your girl out, please. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.